So what is salvation? I mean, really, it seems like such a simple question, right? But the usual one-line answers, well, they just don't seem to capture the whole picture. So today, let's unpack this idea of salvation, not as a one-time event, but as this dynamic, ongoing transformation that we're actually invited to be a part of.
All right, so let's just dive right in at the very heart of the matter. If I were to ask you that question right now, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Seriously, just take a second and think about it. I'm guessing your answer was probably something on this list. And you know what? All of these are absolutely true. They are essential pieces of the puzzle. But the thing is, none of them on their own is big enough to hold the full weight of what the scriptures are talking about. They're all just parts of a much, much grander picture. And this verse right here from the Apostle Paul is really the key that unlocks that deeper understanding. I want you to notice the tension here. He says, you work out your salvation because God is the one working in you. See, this isn't about earning something. It's about participating in something God has already started. And that very idea of participation, well, that's our doorway into understanding the two dimensions of salvation. So let's break this down. We're talking about one single reality of salvation, but it has two dimensions that are completely and totally inseparable. So, is salvation just a legal declaration from God, something that happens for us? Or is it also a deep internal transformation, something that happens in us? And of course, the answer is yes. It's both. You can't have one without the other. They are two sides of the very same coin.
So, on one side of the coin, you've got justification. This is God's work for us. It's a legal verdict. It's the moment God declares us righteous because of what Christ has done. The fancy theological term is imputed righteousness, which basically means Christ's perfect record is credited to our account. It's a done deal. But it doesn't stop there. That's just the beginning. The other side of the coin is sanctification. And this is God's work in us. It's the lifelong process where that declared righteousness starts to become our lived reality. This is imparted righteousness. So if justification is the gift deposited in our account, sanctification is the process of learning to live out of that new wealth. The very life of Christ is literally being formed inside of us. Now, this is absolutely crucial. These are not two separate things. It's not like Salvation 1.0 and then you upgrade to the Premium 2.0 package. It is one single work of God. Think about it. Justification without sanctification is just a verdict with no new life. And sanctification without justification is just us trying really, really hard to be good enough on our own. God joins them together, so we have to see them that way too.
Okay, so this brings us right back to that phrase from Paul. If God is the one doing the work in us, what on earth does it mean for us to work it out?
The language here is so precise, and it's everything. Paul does not say work for your salvation, as if you have to earn it or pay God back. No way. He says work it out, like you work out a muscle at the gym or work out a problem in math. The idea is that you're living into a reality that has already been given to you. You're activating what's already there. And this really gets to the very core of it all. Working out our salvation means we are actively participating in the life of Christ himself, his pattern of self-giving love, his obedience, his humility, and ultimately his resurrection life. We aren't trying to manufacture our own salvation, we're being drawn into his.
So if we're called to participate, what does that actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon? How do we intentionally cooperate with this work that God is doing in us? Well, the discipleship quotient is a really helpful framework that can give this whole process some structure. This framework, sometimes called the DQ, suggests that real, sustainable spiritual formation, this whole process of being made more like Jesus, is built on three interconnected layers. It kind of moves from the inside out, from the personal to the relational to the communal. And each layer is vital. Think of it like a three-legged stool. Our personal rhythms, things like prayer, scripture reading, they position us to hear from God. Then accountable relationships with a few trusted friends, well, they guard that work and keep us from drifting off course. And finally, a healthy communal culture in our church is what sustains all of it for the long haul. You take away any one of those legs and the whole thing gets pretty wobbly. Now, the real key to using this framework is understanding how it's meant to be used and, maybe even more importantly, how it is not meant to be used. So let's just be super clear about this. This tool is not a test to get a score on. It is not for comparing yourself with other people. It's not some kind of leadership ranking system or a way to make sure everyone is checking the right boxes. Using it like that would actually do more harm than good.
Instead, I want you to think of it in a much simpler way. It is just a mirror. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And what's the purpose of a mirror? I mean, it's just to help you see things about yourself that you couldn't see otherwise, right? The discipleship quotient framework is basically a diagnostic tool for you, for your own reflection. It's a mirror to help you honestly see where you might be drifting, to celebrate where God is actually bringing growth, and maybe most importantly, to help you figure out, what's my next faithful step? What's the next small way I can cooperate with what God is already doing? Which brings us full circle, right back to where we started, but with a whole new perspective. See, the ultimate question we should be asking ourselves isn't the one we so often hear, the one that's framed in the past tense, but rather this one, a question framed in the present, active, and ongoing tense. Because salvation isn't just a status we receive, it's a life we get to inhabit. It's the moment-by-moment, day-by-day process of Christ himself being formed in us. And that is a journey worth working out.